Hey guys, Mario here, and I'm sorry I've been absent these last few weeks, but I've been very, very involved in my local politics. As a matter of fact, I was just watching an interview on The View. It was Sunny and Whoopi and this, I don't know his name. It was the guy who got arrested at I believe it was the Grammys. Um, and they tried to goad him into national, who you picking, Biden or Trump. And he's like, no, we have to stay focused on the local stuff, blah, blah, blah. And he rattled off all the programs that he did in Georgia. He praised Governor Kemp and they freaked out. But he brought up something very interesting, which is what I've been doing for the last, few months, is focused on local politics. We need to realize that our local politics really do have a very large impact on our lives. In my community, for example, I have a high school district that encompasses two cities, Palmdale, Lancaster, and kind of part of Little Rock as well. So it's technically three cities. You've got a couple of the unincorporated areas, but the high school district traverses the two major cities. Then you also have the two independent cities, Palmdale and Lancaster. Lancaster just had their election for mayor. And the sad part is they got very low election turnout. They sent out 91,000 ballots and they got back maybe 9,000 ballots. So it's pretty sad. But it also, in this election, which our candidate unfortunately lost, we came in third again. The interesting thing is it pulls up some really cool demographic data, some really interesting things. I found a lot more people were voting against Rex than for him, which was huge. There's also the huge political divide, which candidates' ideas, thoughts, and message resonated with which voters, and how did those also trickle down into the council member sections. And the reason I find this so interesting is because in my community, the high school district just voted in an emergency meeting without two of the other council or board members present. So 3 out of the 5 showed up, said, hey, we got an emergency meeting, and they voted to spend $10 million of the district's general budget and give it to the neighboring city of Lancaster, to one of the two cities. And why would they do something like that? Well, it's in the hopes to build this giant multi-center regional complex. It's supposed to be a sports center, it's supposed to be an event center. They can host prom there, they can host CIF tournaments there, and it's supposed to be available, three days a year, for the district, which has 9 schools. And, some campuses may not use it, but, they have it available and they're expected to have prom there for free. Absolutely. They can use it for free. And the district says, hey, we spend about $250,000 a year, every single year, on these types of events. An investment of $300,000, over the next 10 years doesn't seem like a really big thing. So I kind of started looking at that and I said, wait a second, why did you have to call an emergency meeting, number one? Why did you exclude 2 board members, number 2? And number 3, if you're spending $300,000 a year and then you're still having to spend the $250,000 a year, it's going to be at least a decade before you recoup any of the money that you've spent. And you've been spending double the amount of money. And I know, and anybody who works in schools or is involved in schools know, that California is facing a budget deficit. There's districts that are not getting their, what do they call it, step and term or rate and step. There's layoffs, there's cutbacks. There's schools that actually need repair, and the district is voting to give an extra $300,000 to a city to build a sports complex that in an emergency can house people, but not the entire student body, the first 1,000 residents. There's a lot of shady stuff going on. And if we're not focused on what's going on locally, you would never know about this. So what I encourage anybody, and all my friends who've even moved out of California to find another community, they always call me and they go, I can't seem to find anybody. I don't know. I need to find my people. How do I find my people? And I go, watch your city council meeting, watch your school board meeting, watch your water board meeting, because you're going to find the characters that align with your values, that you can maybe work together with. And that's something that I've been working on personally too, is I've been working on messaging. That's something that I've learned a lot through the Leadership Institute, is working on my messaging. And I'm passing that information on to not only my team, but everybody that I meet. Because when I approached the school board president about this expenditure, they turned around and said, well, we have this culinary arts program here at the district and we want to have a $5 million kitchen, blah, 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 blah. And I'm looking at them going, so you want to take the kids off campuses and take them to an off-site place to teach them how to cook? My community is 64% Hispanic, at least Palmdale is. And so you think that these 64%, the best thing that they can do is learn to be a cook in in the back, that's really racist. I mean, that's, if you think about it, that's really sad. I would want my kids to go and have, every opportunity to become engineers. I live in Aerospace Valley, but you want to give them a multi-million-dollar kitchen to learn to cook food. Let's think about that. So again, this is the messaging. If we can get the messaging just right, we can explain to this board that what they're doing is an unwise decision and what they did was an unwise choice. Again, it's basically holding their feet to the fire. And we did this at Lancaster too. When Lancaster decided to put Palmdale Freedom Coalition's name in his mouth multiple times, we showed up, and when we showed up, he ran off. This is the power of the people. This is the power of the community using their voice. And even though we lost an election, that's not going to stop us from using our voice, because when we lost our election here in Palmdale for District 5, we ended up following that, and we ended up following that until she committed her third DUI in Glendale, and we ran to the world and went, look, this is the representative from District 5. We told you, but here you go. And next thing you know, the lawyers come running. You need to leave her alone. You need to leave her alone. I'm not doing anything. She's doing it. I'm just putting it on blast. And I have every right to, as an individual, and as she, them, they, whatever they want to call themselves, they as public figures are not immune from criticism, especially when you live a public life and you're doing things like drinking and driving and putting a community in danger. This is part of the messaging, and this is the power of using your voice as a community and being focused on the local politics. So I encourage you guys all to watch what's going on, because I see what's going on in Compton. I saw that they fined those 2 people who were filling potholes and told them, hey, you need to stop or face fines. Meanwhile, that same weekend, a person was driving down on one of those mini motorbikes, hit a pothole, fell off, and because they weren't wearing a helmet, they cracked their head and died. Again, do we hold the city responsible for not fixing those potholes? And how are we going to justifiably punish these people for trying to fix a problem in their city? Again, this is the power of a community, and if the community came together and was able to unify and speak up against these people and not let them bully them from the pulpit like they do in Lancaster, because that's exactly what we did. We showed up and they ran off. So that's what I encourage you all to start doing, and get involved, stay local, because the national stuff, that stuff will eventually work itself out. It's the local where you guys got to really worry about. I'll talk to you guys soon. Mwah! Bye, guys.